a new kind of music study, AI music studies, where some of the context is that AI music, that is music generated by or with AI technologies, is now parts of the established music ecosystem and is attracting the significant sums of money from major private organizations and public funding organizations. Yet AI music remains by and large free of critical study with the exception of a few things, that's ethics, responsible use, and law in terms of intellectual property. But what could AI music studies look like? So some of the core questions of AI music studies is, how can the AI music ecosystem and its components be formally studied? And how can this material and its sources be meaningfully studied and critically engaged with? What challenges arise in applying established disciplines such as musicology and economics to the study of this ecosystem? Where is all this AI music ending up? And who or what is engaging with it? Why and how are they engaging with it? And how can these AI music systems and their bodies of, quote, work be identified, conceptualized, and critically examined in and as culture? Can or should a new canon be created in the process? And is there going to be a course, AI music appreciation, to be taught at an institution like this? So a little bit provocative here, intentionally, to think about where we are in terms of this new kind of material coming into the ecosystem. So we are looking at 7 specific aspects, and I'll look at these in my talk, these different levels. We can analyze the service of the company that's providing this service, the founders and employees, the use of the service, users, the algorithms, the resulting music, and the sustainability. Now, these aren't the only aspects we could look at, but this is where we're starting. And this is work done in collaboration with my team and others. Let us take a real-world example here. Who has heard of Boomi? All right. So Boomi is a very interesting service. Here is the Boomi website. This is a company in the United States, founded in about 2019. And here we are. Unleash your creativity. Make music with Boomi AI. Create original songs in seconds, even if you've never made music before. Submit your songs to streaming platforms and get paid when people listen. Join a global community of artists empowered by generative music. Down at the bottom, well, we can see some blurbs on it from people and some playlists. Here we see at this point, Boomi artists have created 18 million original songs. And just last night, we had passed from 17 million to 18 million. So it's a historic event. They used to have an additional figure that would say, Boomi artists have created 13 million songs, which is about 13% of the world's recorded music. And at some point between March of this year and now, they've taken that bit off. So let us create a song. Okay, let's select a style. Somebody last night said there's already too much lo-fi music in the world, so let's not do lo-fi. Let's go global groove. Here we can hear some examples. Yeah, I'm going to choose jamming. I like that. Create song. So we're in the queue. Oh, we've already got it. So that's the song down there that you can see. You can forward a bit. Great. And so we can click save, and then probably up in the library that we have. Good, we've got it there. Now we can go in and we can edit it. We can change different things, add metadata to describe what it is, what the title is. We can rearrange. We can add vocals, which means we can import an audio file and it would mix it together. And if we were so inclined, we can also go to the library and create a release and choose it to release to the world. And so what Boomi would do is put this into a queue to be reviewed by the artists and repertoire team at Boomi, which would then review the piece, make sure it fits the standards of the contents, and then say approve, and then it's distributed to a number of digital service providers like YouTube or SoundCloud, etc. And then I start to rack up the number of listens, and I start to increase my pay. So that's an example of Boomi. Now, we are going to look at Boomi in the consideration of AI music studies as an example of a service and a group of users using this kind of technology to create content that is just distributed out for purposes of listening or music creation, etc. So we're going to take some methodological considerations here. And in our analysis, we're going to use public-facing information, so the website, the Boomi Discord, the terms of service, metadata on digital service providers, news articles, interviews of Boomi personnel, and LinkedIn pages, and Boomi job advertisements. We're also going to explore Boomi as a user of both the service and the Discord. So we have one non-anonymous account, that's mine, and you can see that here under Bob Cordian, this user, Associate Professor of Computer Science. And then we're going to have and then this non-anonymous account is asking probing questions to Boomi management to figure out how they're operating, how many people are on the artists and repertoire team, etc. One anonymous account for exploring Boomi as a genuine user. And when we do interact with other users, we're trying to minimize that with the anonymous account. But when there's interaction, we keep that discourse supportive and focused on fun things that we're doing with Boomi. So we avoid, we don't want to cause harm into the Boomi Discord. We want to explore it as a real user would and see how other users are exploring it. So let us analyze the service or the company. Some pertinent questions for this aspect are, how does this service work and how does AI music figure into it? What's the company's relationship to music in general? How is it making money from this music? What is driving investment in the company? And how does the company treat issues around intellectual property? Using the words of the Boomi CEO and founder, Alex Mitchell, who was interviewed in 2022, he had this to say: Boomi allows people to express themselves with music, even if they don't know anything about making music, but also allows people to make money from that activity. We pass an 80% revenue share on to you as the user, which is game-changing because that means you have a financial incentive to use Boomi, to use it in your content, to tell your friends about it, and to put it in your videos. When we surmise the financials of the company, we see that Boomi probably makes some amount of money off of streams. And on YouTube, when we analyze the number of new Boomi tunes or Boomi songs put on YouTube, we see it's in the order of 100 to 1,000 a day. So there is probably some amount of money being made off of streams, but this amount of money is surely not enough to pay for the time that the Boomi artists and repertoire have to listen to all that content before they okay it to go out to the digital service providers. And LinkedIn shows there are 3 employees on the artists and repertoire team. So where is Boomi making money in that case? Well, Crunchbase, which is a sort of repository of financial information of the tech world, reports that Boomi has collected about $4.5 million US dollars in 4 rounds of funding from 2019 to 2022. So it's not clear where they're making money. What is their business model? Is it just a data collection, exercise? Are they building a data set of music that people accept and other people reject, and they're trying to create better music generation algorithms? Or are they just trying to get that 1 or 2 Boomi created songs on a very popular Spotify playlist for yoga or exercise or sleep, and then rake in the money on that? Having 18 million songs in the created in the universe, the digital service providers, all you need is 1 or 2 on a big playlist, and you're making a lot of money. So it's not sure. We can't really say much more than that about what the company is doing. or how they're making money. But Boomi is only one of dozens of other companies trying to make money off of generative AI in music. We'll look at another one a little later. Let's analyze the founders and employees and see what their vision is. So some pertinent questions for this aspect are, what are their visions and values? What motivates them? What are the skills and values of the employees? How do the employees relate to the music ecosystem in general? How do the visions, values, and skills shape the service and the choices that are given to me as a user? Returning again to the words of Boomi CEO Alex Mitchell, he constantly invokes this idea of the iPhone camera. The iPhone camera has made anyone a professional photographer. So what if you could do for the iPhone 12 camera, what if you can do the iPhone 12 camera but for music, and then tie it into the global rights system so that people can make money from it? The core principle of what we want to achieve is, I'm a person with a smartphone anywhere in the world with any internet connection. I can create music that is as good as what's coming out of major record labels in 10 seconds. So you've already heard an example of some of the output of Boomi. I don't think record labels are shaking in their boots just yet. But Boomi is only one of these systems or services. We will see another one that is coming much closer to what Mitchell envisions. Boomi CEO Mitchell also says, what does 100 billion songs per year look like, and how does that shift the market? Whoever is there first, and whoever is doing that, the spoils on the other side of that thing are just going to be ridiculous. And so obviously that's why I'm driving Boomi as hard as we can, to be the first there and to be part of that. 100 billion songs of AI-generated material. This is an astounding collection put next to all of human creation, basically, right? AI music studies is an attempt to try to deal with this coming deluge of, in essence, musical spam. And that's sort of invoked by Matthew Kirschenbaum in his nice article in The Atlantic about the text apocalypse that's coming with these text models like GPT-4. That's just going to be creating content that can pass off as realistic, fact-checked content that people are reading, but it's actually spam. But here we have the music apocalypse, a planetary, quote, planetary spam event in the music sphere. So going on to analyze the use of the service, some pertinent questions. How is this service used by users external and internal to the company? How is it misused by users external and internal to the company? What is the procedure of use from the user perspective? So I gave a demonstration of just a very basic use of the Boomi system for you to see. The options that are available, how much control can be taken away from the automation. So we explored this with an example release under our non-anonymous user. I created this release in March of this year, Stonks Go Up, by the group Stonky Stonks. Didn't spend much time on it. You can put in, they have a little, on the album release, input what keyword and it'll generate the album cover for you. So of course I put in Stonks and it generated a nice memeable image. And last I checked on Stonks Go Up, Boomi says I can stream it on all of these services, but actually none of those places have this anymore. It's disappeared for some reason. Here's what the beginning of Stonky Stonks sounds like. And it develops a little bit. And so on. It goes on for 1 minute and 50 seconds. I use the option to add vocals, and so you upload a vocal file, and in this particular option it has auto vocals, which means it takes 30 seconds of your vocals and it sort of it breaks that up and then puts them into little sequences that you're hearing in the background. It's very characteristic of Boomi. Now in the ensuing time since that, Oh yes, another thing I noticed is that when it was on Spotify, it had this text performed by Stonky Stonks, but written by Arthur Matthias Wolf and Jin Soo Kim, produced by Blank and Source Boomi Corporation. And at that time, looking at any release from Boomi, it always had written by Arthur Matthias Wolf and Jin Soo Kim. And we could not get a straight answer from any Boomi employee who these two people were. They just said, oh, this is an easy way to maximize the royalties. So we still are searching for Arthur Matthias Wolf and Jin Soo Kim. I checked last night. Here are my statistics of Stonky Stonks. I had a lot of listens, well, 5 listens on YouTube way back then, and then it really petered out. A few on Spotify, but mostly on YouTube, and then it disappeared from YouTube and all the other digital service providers. The good news is I've made 2 cents. I haven't tried withdrawing the earnings yet, but I will try. So that's an example of looking at it from the perspective of the user. Now, I have my anonymous account that I've been using Boomi to explore it even deeper, but I cannot go into the details of that on camera. We can discuss that off camera tonight. But many other experiments, not only myself, but also members of my team with Boomi. Analyzing the users of the service. So who are the people using this? How and why do they use them? Who are the listeners of AI music and how do they listen? How do users discuss the outputs they elicit from such a service? What is the scale of operation and how is that reflected in the artifacts that they produce? How is the user's use of AI music entwined with cultural norms, values, and practices? Alex Mitchell, Boomi CEO, says 85% of Boomi users tell us it's their first time they ever made music. So first-time music makers is the right word. One of the most prolific recent users of Boomi is this artist, Wobben. I don't know if his real name is this in the Netherlands, but he's got a SoundCloud page in which he has 1,943 tracks so far. And we can go here. And we can see he had one just 2 hours ago. No, that's a long one. Oh, it's a reboot. Okay, so one day ago, he created this Rainbow Ice Delight. Released by Boomi Corporation. That same day, How Chemical Interact, and this one actually has 131 listens. And then Blooming Petals, so he's got many from a day ago. And even some strange ones, like ones with silence, 10 seconds, 20 seconds of silence in there. Or this one, Is This Love? And many of these don't have a single listen to them. Here's Grand Prize. Okay, so that's one user. But you get a real view of some of the users on the Boomi Discord. So if we go to the Discord here, you can see on the Boomi channel, we've got community announcements. There are polls. Let's see, recent polls. There's artists that are featured, partner artists that are using Boomi in their workflow. There are workshops. Every Wednesday they have an hour-long session where users can put up their songs and get comments from the Boomi A&R team. There are contests. So there was recently a spooktacular contest, so create the most spine-chilling result using Boomi. And so we've got first, second place, third place, honorable mentions, and then even before then you had concept album contest. So create a whole album around a concept and then get awarded. And then we have general discussions, we have song sharing. But by and large, what is interesting here is that we see hundreds to 1,000 new tunes uploaded to YouTube daily from Boomi, but it's virtually a desert of commentary within the Boomi Discord. There's only a few comments that are maybe made every once a day by only a few users. So who are the people using this in the background? Why don't they come to the Discord to discuss their work? Some regular people here are here often, and some we have linked to. See, this particular fellow has artists sort of, they've been creating music for a while, but they have also written articles on how to make money using Boomi, like when Boomi first came out. So kind of what's not clear is, are these real users that are appearing, or are they somehow affiliated with the company or another company hired by Boomi to make it appear as if there is a strong user base? So we're left with this question: how many real users are there? There's this the dirty side of internet marketing. You have this corporate astroturfing, which is hiring people to click, hiring people to discuss and look as real users, and sort of buying this appearance of activity to persuade investment in the company or other users. And it's not clear how we can extract this information from this online community. So that's a problem for AI music studies, a methodological problem. How can we suss this information out? And it also appears that many of the users are below 18 years old. So some have sometimes discussions on my mom's calling, or I have to go to pick up my little brother at soccer practice or what have you. So it appears that there are some ages that we need to take into account when we interact with them as researchers online. Now we get to the algorithms. How do we analyze the algorithms? So what algorithms is a service using to generate its output? And how do these consider a user's music knowledge? How do they treat specific music dimensions alone or in combination? And if machine learning is being used, then what is the training data? How was it assembled and by whom? How creative are the algorithms? And does the service employ algorithms for plagiarism detection with reference to existing non-AI music and AI music generated by the service and others? Is Boomi really, when somebody releases a song on Boomi, does it compare to the 17,999,000 other Boomi created tunes to make sure that it hasn't already been generated and that this person can earn royalties? So we want to reverse engineer Boomi, and we don't have access to the algorithm, so we have to look at it through the lens of a user. And I can say that Boomi is not generating the sound on the sample level like a lot of the other generative algorithms. It seems to be generating some kind of symbolic notation, MIDI for instance, that is using a rule-based system where they have templates. This template would work, this is Warehouse Groove. It's a template that works for dance music, and it's got these harmonies, these kinds of chord progressions, and these rhythm instruments, and these tempo, etc. And then it selects from that and sort of creates algorithmically the MIDI signals that is then used to for samplers to generate the music. And there's clearly an automated mixing and mastering pipeline. When you add in vocals to an already, a full mix. The mix is full range, and you're going to add vocals on top of it. You're going to get some sort of crunchy distortion. But Boomi intelligently reduces the volume and makes them match so that they sound appropriate together. So much more work has to go into reverse engineering Boomi or other systems like it. And when you get into private companies that are running these algorithms, we can only surmise what kind of training data they've been using to figure out how they're working. Another problem for AI music studies: how do you pick out this information for private companies? Now we approach that level that we all hear, the resulting music. What are the qualities and conventions of this music? How diverse is this world of expression? How meaningful and useful are methods of music informatics, music theory, ethnomusicology, sound studies for these questions? So we did a rudimentary study in music informatics where we're taking two collections. One is AI generated or co-created, and one is definitely human created. We've got on one side the Rolling Stone top 500 songs of all time, and then on the left-hand side we have the Boomy 500. So Paperboy Prince is an artist in New York, I believe, that's one of the sort of associate artists with Boomy at that time. And he put together a collaboration with the Boomy community, which is, I think, employees, but also some users, to enter the Guinness Book of World Records with the most number of songs on an album. And so they created 500 songs. And in March or April of this year, all of the songs were free and available on SoundCloud, on Spotify. But last I checked, there's only maybe a dozen that are still available on these platforms. Luckily, we downloaded all of them so that we could then process and study this collection. So some things we can do is look at the durations of the songs in each one of these collections. Rolling Stone's 500 clearly is much more diverse in terms of the length of the songs. Boomy 500 has a median of about 105 seconds in their song lengths. We can look at BPM, so the tempos that are estimated from these songs, and clearly we see a strong tendency of the Boomy tracks to have a tempo of about 130, 135 beats per minute. We can also take the audio material of the tracks, send it through a deep learning model that's been trained on a bunch of music to connect high-level keywords like disco and 60s and female singers to the audio signal itself. And then in this feature space, in the latent space of this model, we can project each one of the songs into a reduced dimension, and we see quite nicely that Boomy 500 is separated very well in this latent space from the Rolling Stone 500, but there are a few that cross the boundaries. And we'd like to explore what it is that's making, these real human tunes appear in the Boomy cluster, and what makes these Boomy tunes appear in these real clusters. So are these the hits, let's say? Are these the good ones? So that's just basic rudimentary music informatics. Much more work can be done. Of course, there's the question of why are you comparing this sort of definitely electronic kind of music to non-electronic kind of music? And that's a good question. We can perform the same kind of analysis in human-composed electronic music corpus too. Analyzing sustainability of an AI music service or system. So what's the environmental, economic, and cultural sustainability of AI music? How do the benefits compare to the costs? And how do the motivations of an AI music business align with goals of sustainability? We have much more work to do in these respects, but it is an important aspect to consider in AI music studies. So there we've looked at 7 different aspects of AI music studies. And analyzing this, we've looked at Boomy in particular, picked apart the words of the CEO and the vision, and listened to some of the output. And so that was Boomy, a royalty-free, sort of prosumer. I would say maybe not prosumer, I would put that closer to consumer. But down here, very bottom right, is Suno. Suno is a relatively recent generative music system that's come to the market, and it is available through Discord. And when I started to use this, or when I discovered it, I was reminded of a nice moment that Sam had in a talk that he gave, online talk, where he's wondering about, in the future, is he going to be able to ask in text an AI music model, compose a 15-minute work for solo percussionist, amplified objects in the style of Sam Salem, begin introspectively in a slow, quiet voice, end with a rhythm that builds and dissolves a chaotic noise, etc. And I think we're not there yet, but we're getting very close. So let's look at an example. In the Discord, you go to Suno, and you join. And if you join, you get 5 credits, or 50 credits in order to create 5, synthesize 5 examples. And a chirp is what is the sort of like imagine term in Midjourney speak. A chirp is where you can specify a style, a text style of music. And you can see in real time, people are creating these pieces of music, these excerpts, in a variety of different languages. Who knows where they're from? It's a huge number of users here. And there's a variety of other channels here. But in this experiment, I said, all right, ska is the style. And this is the exact words I put in for the lyrics. And so this is what came out. So let's have a listen to this, 30-second excerpt of audio. It is synthesizing the audio, not symbolic that's turned into audio by MIDI or synthetic instruments. Let's have a listen. Imagine in your head, I think you know where these lyrics come from. And I think you know what ska generally sounds like. So does your expectations match up with what you hear?
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me with a mind to rhyme with 2 high feet. It feels good when you know you're down. A super dope homeboy from the Hope Town, and I'm known as such. And this is a beat you can't touch. I told you, homeboy, you can't touch this. Yeah, that's how we live it, you know. You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
That's what came out. It's amazing. The voice is consistent, the rhythm's consistent. The quality of the sound isn't superior, but the voices are intelligible. It's amazing this happens over 30 seconds or 35 seconds. And then with Suno, you can also do this thing where you say continue. I want to continue this example. So you click on continue, and you can specify a new genre. This is just a free text form. Enter more lyrics. And then it'll compose. It'll take the last 2 seconds or 3 seconds of what is continuing, and then it generates new audio. Seamless as well. So that's what I did for this piece. I'm going to play this piece. It's a video piece now. I did continue, and it's essentially ended up with a bunch of sound files that I just merged together in Reaper. And so the track 1 at the top and a little bit of track 2 is what is generated by Suno. And I just added a little bit more, some crunchy guitar feedback, etc. And the only effects I added was upmixing, expander, reverb, and compression. I didn't change any of the musical material. The hard part, I did this all, it just took 30 minutes really of working in the Discord and then putting it in Reaper. The video took far longer. But this is an alternate version of You Can't Touch This.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me with a mind to rhyme with 2 high feet. It feels good when you know you're down. A super dope homeboy from the Hope Town, and I'm known as such. And this is a beat you can't touch. I told you, homeboy, you can't touch this. Yeah, that's how we live it, you know. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. Yeah. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. Look in my eyes, man. You can't touch this. You let me bust the funky out earrings. You can't touch this. Fresh new kicks and pants. You got it like that. Now you know you want to dance on your seat and get a fly girl and catch beats while it's rolling. Hold on. Pop a little bit and let them know what's going on like that. Cold but vicious, so hold on back. Let them know that you're too much and this is a beat they can't touch. Yo, I told you, you can't touch this. Why you sitting there, man? You can't, You can't touch this. Why you standing there, man? You can't touch this. Yeah, sound the notes, goes inside out. You can't touch this. 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 You better get hype, boy, cause you know you can't touch this. Ring the bell, scroll the back end. Stop. touch this, you can't touch this, you can't touch this. Break it down. Stop. Hammer time. Every time you see me, that hammer's just so high. And dope on the floor, and magic on the mic. You can't touch this, you can't touch this, you can't touch this. Break it down, stop. Hammer time, you can't touch this, you can't touch this, you can't touch this. Stop, can't touch this, break it down, stop. Hammer time, stop.
Thank you. I'm not the composer of that. I felt more like just arranging or restoring a piece of music that somebody had recorded on a tape at a ska concert. So, with that, I invite you to submit or attend the first International Conference on AI Music Studies, Prospects, Challenges, Methodologies of Studying AI Music and Humanities, which will be sometime in November of next year in Stockholm. And you can find out more here. As far as dates go as well, submission of abstracts around March or April. And we have great people on the organizing or the steering committee, including Georgina Bourne, Eric Drott, Jonathan Sturm, Sound Studies, and a variety of musicologists and so on. A great group. So thank you very much for listening. I hope it's been provocative, inspiring, worrying too. But we're on the cusp of something very strange, I think. I'm happy to take questions now. Yes, please.
Thank you. It's absolutely fascinating. It's not a world I know loads about, but I find it totally fascinating, and that, yeah, it's really illuminating. This is perhaps a naive question, but I just wondered, are there AI-generated tools that can create non-beat-based music? So it seems that a lot of them work on templates or work on rhythmical patterns that rely on a specific beat or perhaps a simple chord sequence. But do some of them handle non-beat-based music very well, or even kind of non-tonal music?
Yeah, let us try. I'm going to chirp. And what would you say would be a good way to describe that music? I mean, non-beat based, it might have that in its vocabulary, but maybe ambient, drone. Non-metrical. Noise. Okay, there's a lot of comments there. Let's see what it does. Enter your own lyrics. Well, a lot of people just put a dash if there is no lyrics, or we can try to do something like intro, instrumental. I don't know. Let's see. A lot of people are exploring. Here's a style of music. I have no idea what that is in Japanese. We can listen to what this is. They've got text.
Like stars twinkling in the night sky, I treasure our meeting.
So, text.
Like stars twinkling in the night sky, I treasure our...
Okay. And while it's generating, I don't see, oh, kids salsa.
Seguro de los grandes, tengo patas gigantes, me dicen que soy gordo, es verdad que peso mucho, soy un elefante, siempre.
Beat based. Let's see, has it created it? Russian rock. This is a long one. I don't think ours has been created. It's in the queue right now. Okay, it's generating. Rap. So with only an ability to generate 5 times a day on the free plan, you really have to think, right? What do you want to do? And the MC Hammer one is created on the free plan, well, times 2, because I have 2, I have my alter ego in there. So only 10 times did I need to do anything. Okay, here we are. Noise. Now we have another example. It creates 2 at a time. So, answer yes, it's able to do that. Anyone else have a suggestion? I'm happy to. Now, I found this service so fun to explore, I have bought a subscription, so I have 250 generations possible on my alter ego account. But does anyone have a burning type that they'd like to try?
Well, I asked yesterday about orchestral music. How good is he?
Provided a composer?
Oh, bootlegs.
Boulez and lyrics. We'll just do that. So it's maybe instrumental. Or we can say, let's try to have some fun. The hammer without a master. That's what it does. Okay, so here's one that somebody tried to do. Epic piano music, fast-paced battle theme. No, fail on that one. That's better. It's not really epic. So you can hear it actually has musically meaningful development. Carries the idea and it makes it sound coherent. The sample RNN system's not able to do that because its time span that it's looking at is so short compared to these models, which are using probably attention-based models, transformer-based models that are using acoustic tokens for groups of samples rather than individual samples. So a little wait.
Well, I do have a question because we have a lot of kind of students who write music and teachers who are wanting to teach people, and could you have any thoughts about the way forward for assessing compositions and these things?
That's another aspect of AI music studies that I think should be considered. How do you go about criticizing the output of this algorithm or the output of a process that involves the algorithm and a human? I think that's an important one. Teaching in terms of the knowledge of what is out there. If you want a job in production music and creating production music, you've got to compete now because this stuff is going to just get better and better and better. You're going to be able to specify you know, the duration of the piece, where its climax is, the, you know, the harmonic progressions, all these control messages into controlling the algorithm to get the exact 20 renditions that you can choose the best one for your commercial or your movie scene. So it goes a long way to, you know, inspire, motivate, develop skills in other areas, talk critically about these kinds of systems and their use in music creation. So here we have created, the system has imagined that this is motorcycle music. Let's have a listen. Nice bass. Didn't work. Maybe that's what Boulez wanted to write. He couldn't. Yes, Rob.
This is raw audio, is that right?
Yes.
That didn't sound like raw audio, did it? Why do you think that is?
It's probably trained on synthesized. Some of it is trained on synthesized stuff. This company, I don't know, like the LinkedIn page of this company has people I've never heard of before, and it's just an emerging. It's a competitor to Boomi, and yeah, I can't reveal that piece of information on camera yet, but it's going to be interesting what Boomi's response to this kind of system is, because investors are hearing this and they're like, your system is not like theirs.
Can I ask a question on that theme? You were talking about your analysis of movie, and I suppose when I look at this, I think it's fascinating, interesting, worrying, funny. Great combination. But I wonder, what's the market incentive for it? Is it kind of the startup idea of you just can't make a market and then you figure out what to do with the business model later? Is it that? I mean, this seems like it must cost a fortune.
Yes, and I'm sure it did cost some amount of money in terms of compute power, and they have 7 different channels here where you can generate stuff, and the use of it, it's been constant stream since I've become aware of this a month ago. I think the lifespan of these, or the goal of these companies, they're founded, they make an impact with their use and excitement around it, and then they're acquired by a big company, Google or DeepMind or Stability AI. And that's the big payoff for them. I think that's the business model. Not to create a lasting tool that can be used. Suno probably won't be around in a year. I'm surprised Boomi has been around as long as it has been. But to be acquired and to rake in the money on that impact, I think that's the AI music is merely a vehicle to get to that means. Yes, in the back. Please.
Oh, sorry. I have so many questions, but so the point at which I would really start worrying is when performance conventions or performance variety becomes really good in this, right? So that's the interesting sort of follow-up to the beat-based thing is how accurate is it? So you have, for example, the salsa, right? But not the salsa and put the Beanies waltz thing. Does it generate a waltz or does it generate a Beanies waltz, right? Does it do the so and then if it can do that with a sort of pattern where it does the same in every bar, is it good enough yet to actually have a trajectory over 8 bars or 16 bars or a random sort of variety of those things? So while we run it,
Yes.
and ask where I'm going with the question is because what I'm interested in your project that you're running and the combination of you doing together, so the sort of obvious question is how are you going to get to the aesthetic questions, right? And there's something really attractive around this notion that we might be stripping away aesthetic questions as gatekeepers, as sponsor gatekeepers, and that's sort of, what Ruby essentially is sort of trying to say, right? But it does force us to really ask those questions. How
Yeah, the interactions of the A&R team on Discord with any user has been invariably supportive. This is really great. Maybe you can tune, this little bit, the levels, but in general, avoiding any kind of negative or critical look at somebody's music. So it's been very supportive, and it's not necessarily, like a teacher to say, you get an A+ because you made a good effort, but you used our tool, and we're going to applaud you for using your tool, and keep going. Keep it up. You'll make it someday. For Suno, I don't think they have an AR team, but they do have Showcase, right? Chirp Showcase, where you can see people are really inspired by things that they create, and some of them, post the MP3s. Some of them are creating dubstep, metal, entire songs with this. They're incorporating AI in the video production process to morph faces and animate things. So if there are, aesthetic decisions being made here, this is something that I think would be really interesting to suss out with the users. Why are they using it? What are the values? How does the system align with their values and their music consumption and the things that they want to create? I don't think that many of the Boomi users or these people are novices or beginners or first-time music makers. I think some of them show a real tendency, show a real talent at selecting the things that are generated by the algorithm that are unique and new, and not necessarily just, it's like a rock song, like every other rock song. Isn't that cool? I created it. There's also some elements of novelty and that it's such a new technology that my artifact that I've created is interesting because of that, not necessarily because it sounds good. So there is some elements of that being first to the domain and your friends to make music. But this is part of AI music appreciation that needs to be developed. How do you judge the quality of this? We can send that music through these models, and they can give us numbers to how likely it is compared to their training data, which provides some objective measure, and that's how these models are trained. But that's not necessarily an evaluation of the music quality. So I saw that the Viennese waltz example was created. Let's have a listen. It's in 3, synthesized. Too slow. Yeah, that would be fine on a telephone waiting for the bank to pick up. Right? Yeah. So it's probably not seen a lot of Viennese waltz in its training data. And in my working with the system, inputting lyrics like MC Hammer or other popular tunes, I'm trying to see if it will accidentally recreate the music that's associated with. And I have not. I've done this created 8 videos like this. I've not been able to make it generate that music. Again, it creates something completely new, which is interesting.
I realise the sort of level of non-disclosure on the part of these companies regarding things like data sets might make answering this difficult, but given the amount of spam, as you put, from companies like Boomi, what do you think the odds are that level of spam goes on to infect the data sets of other algorithms like this, and sort of almost creating a feedback loop? Because as you just said, and as you've proven, this one is clearly a lot better at SCAR than it is at Boolean, reflecting the imbalance of the data available of one genre versus another. So, what do you think the chances of the future of that happening, of that just becoming more overblown as Boomi throws in 100 billion rap tracks versus?
Yeah. In some sense, that's already being done. There's a method in machine learning called data augmentation, where you take your training data and you modify it a bit, like pitch shifting or time stretching or adding noise, and that creates 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the amount of data to train on. And these models really are data hungry to understand how sound works and how the one token follows another. So through data augmentation, it is in some sense infecting the data that you have. And that's an interesting term to use, infecting, because it automatically sort of brings up a disease or something that must be routed out with penicillin from the data sets. When you're creating these data sets, it's almost as if anything goes. Just get everything we can, scrape the entire internet. It could be speech, it could be motivational, yoga, meditational music. It could be an entire collection from Universal Music Group. Put it all together, and the system will be able to suss out what is the music and how things work automatically. And in some sense, we see that occurring. We see that these systems are able to figure that out. But, I mean, isn't popular music also kind of, in some sense, infected by similar cookie-cutter pressed pieces to inspire and motivate? Okay, the public really like that, so here's another, here's another, here's another.
Well, perhaps infections may be the wrong word. I think maybe mutation would maybe be another one where initially maybe right now the algorithms are responding to human creations, but the more the data set becomes imbalanced in favor of AI creations, it's reacting to AI creations of humans, and then many more generations down the line, it's, the human element is further and further back.
Could be. I think we're reaching that point very soon, actually. This also motivates a new kind of task for music informatics, and that is music spam detection. Right? How can you do this in an automated way to ferret out these 18 million tracks from YouTube?
I suppose the follow-up question to that one, which I think sets up is the number of plays of each track in the data set taken into account, or should it be, or could it be? Because 18 million new tracks played once versus one track played 800 million times, do they have the same weight in the data set, or does one have more weight than the other?
I don't know. I don't know how the algorithms work. This also inspires me to create another chirp, just to see what it does. Spam music. Spam, spam, spam. Maybe we can repeat that a few times.
What to you is spam music?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, you just said in order to find it. I mean, isn't spam only defined by the context in which it appears? It's the wrong thing in the wrong place, right? Or how do you find it?
Yeah, I mean, seeing Wobbin's page here, where he posts hundreds of songs a day, and he's got 1,600 tracks.
I mean, he won that contest you mentioned on Discord, so clearly he's doing something right.
And this is the one, this is the track that won, I'm on Fire, the spookiest boomy track in the collection.
Yeah. I am the beast under the sea, and everyone is scared of me because I'm on fire.
That, I have to say, he's got thousands of tracks here, and I don't like all of them, but the ones that he raps over, I find charming. But I don't know, I don't think that's the spookiest track in the collection. But here we have spam music. I'll download that and email it around. So I think that's pretty great. I have no idea why I created that.
But you can put them into a sleeping using app,
Hmm?
and then it was that.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially even with moving, what is his name?
Mm-hmm.
of the stamp creation prior to the public posting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as a tool that everyone uses for themselves privately.
Yeah. I mean, in some sense, what Wabin is doing is infecting YouTube and SoundCloud with these things that he's not curating from. He just says, click, stop, post, click, next, post, click, next, post. He's not performing, it doesn't seem like any sensible curation or filtering of these. That's why I find the ones he raps on charming and nice, because he's spent time, at least some amount of time, creating this. So what is spam music? That has yet to be defined. I mean, intentionality and it's a factory, it's an assembly line of creation straight from Boomi to SoundCloud that I find kind of offensive. Yes, a question behind Rob, and then Rob. Yes?
Sorry, yeah, so this Robin guy, or
Hmm?
are these tracks here things that have been past the A&R at Boomi?
Yes, all of them.
Because it's quite interesting, because when I'm looking at this from the outside in, and you're saying there's 3 A&R people, the way that I'm looking at it is that every user of Boomi is effectively A&R. So people are generating stuff, they're determining which to discard
Hmm?
and which to push out there. And then when eventually, and that could actually go back into training.
Hmm? Hmm?
And then when it goes out there, they look at how many listens they get, and that is further information as well.
Mm-hmm.
So effectively, people, the users are refining that model.
Hmm?
It doesn't actually look like there's much else you can do as well, and they could do that themselves.
Yeah. And imagine being on the A&R team and having to listen to 20 or 90 hours of this music to say, okay, that's acceptable, send it out. I mean, that costs money to the company, but it also costs something in terms of psychological well-being of these people.
But with that stuff with massive gaps in it, I'm just be stunned if someone had actually sat through that and said, yeah, this is a winner.
Yeah, here's a big one.
Are they looking for winners though?
Ooh. That's what we did. That's on one of the secret things I can't. We created a 5-song album, and long ambient tracks in with one in the middle, a rap, and we had some rapping and then a swear word quite clearly come out, and then that would go against their policy, but it was never flagged. It was sent out, but we have not earned any money on it, on that album, that concept album. And we also put in a little Easter egg, like, who is Arthur Matthias Wolff? Right, to see if they'd pick up on that. And they did.
Do you think we listen all the way through, or just, sorry, or do you think it's just literally 10 seconds within the air?
I have no idea if they listen to it all.
Yeah, I think it might be in 10 seconds. Is it people listening? I mean, I assume that it's also just going through an algorithm, which would make it surprising though if it doesn't take out
Hmm?
the swear word, so that's a compound algorithm.
Mhm.
Do you really actually think there is such a thing as an
Well, there is the appearance of an AR team on the Boomi Discord. When we go over here to the music feedback, we can see some interaction. Hannah is the one on the Boomi A&R, community leader. And she's the one that's always listening on Workshop Wednesdays and providing very supportive advice. But again, at Workshop Wednesdays, there's only maybe 1 or 2 regulars that attend. Sometimes no one attends. So at least Hannah is there listening to some things. But I don't think that they're listening to all of the tracks that are submitted. Which also makes me wonder, why does Boomi need users at all? Why don't they just have their algorithm click, compose, distribute? So we wonder about this. Does the minimum requirements of human labor to click on a button meet some regulation for intellectual property? That this music can now be collected, royalties can now be collected on that? Not sure. There was, Rob, you had a question, and then over here.
Yeah, well, because I just want to, I just love how much you inhabit this world of movies now. Like, you know them all on first name basis. I think it's amazing, and I'd love to read about this when you're finished with the whole project.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a question about genre and about humans. They're related. So, obviously, these two tools, and indeed all AI music tools, in my view, are extremely structureless in that the music emerges from a series of connections made by the algorithm, and data augmentation is a great example because you can flip your Boulez piece upside down and stretch it. It's still the same piece, isn't it, for the algorithm, not to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this kind of disconnect between the process of music making and the product of music making. These things are all focused on the product, massively on it. And then I thought about your comment that you've taken up the accordion since making a folk art project, and I wondered your view on, first of all, do you think that this is fundamentally different music to what we've known before? You call it AI music appreciation, not music appreciation in the age of AI.
Mhm.
Those are two very different things. So I wondered if you think this is simply a different genre, and actually perhaps it's not as relevant to musicians in all fields as we might think it is, because it's just its own thing, or not. And the second question, and it's just an opinion obviously, do you think people are going to react against this and seek out the human in music more as a result of what you were calling sort of the musical spam that we've got coming in? Are people going to be going to folk music gigs a lot more often and really engaging on the human-to-human level if sonically it's all the same now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, so on the concept of genre is something that's constantly shifting. It's a manner of speaking, language, a means of speeding up communication when you're talking about this cultural artifacts and how do you identify with a particular style of music and its reception, how do you judge its qualities, etc. I think AI music deserves to be discussed at the table with other kinds of styles, because embedded in it are values of users that are pressing click and choosing to say, I like that, I'm going to release it. Maybe not Wobbin on many of his works, but clearly he's finding something that is meaningful to this activity, and I think this kind of music and this activity deserves to be discussed with the same consideration.
So when you click salsa, it doesn't matter that it's salsa in that view. All genres from sumo would be AI music, and they wouldn't be actually.
No.
That's actually quite different to how a lot of people view
Mm-hmm.
AI music.
Yeah, and I would
compare it to other salsa.
there was the first version of Suno that sounded different from the second version of Suno, but there's also earlier versions of Boomi that sound different from later versions of Boomi. And I think we could make distinctions between early, middle, late age Boomi, for instance, and discuss the different choices that were made in there. But is it one genre? I don't think so. I think there's many different kinds of models in here that are. The affordance of this model is natural text that you can input in, and that's a very powerful modality to operate with these models, because it gives you a sense of power that you don't have with just dials. But as we've seen, it's very unpredictable as well. It's a lottery ticket if it's going to interpret your prompts correctly. But I think we need to develop and see how does the language of genre and this way of speaking apply to this music and the users of this music, creators of music. I think that's important.
So I think maybe one last question and we
Hmm?
continue the conversation.
Thanks. I was wondering if you've got any thoughts on how this might impact on live music performance.
Oh, yes, yes.
Digital. And a lot of us here are engaged with the performance of historical repertoire, so whether you see AI performances of, say, Beethoven's Fifth or something like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is why in AI music studies I find it important to invite economists to the table and political scientists, because at the heart of this industry is the fact that in the West, people have a sense that they can get music for free, that they don't need to pay for it online. They can go to YouTube, just they need a computer and internet connection, they can get all the music they want for free. It's going to the live gigs, it's watching an artist live that they are willing to pay money for. So it's, the current economic system that we have focused on profit making, the incentive of click to pay per click, I think is upside down for artistic expression. It just is not commensurate with why people make music. And we need to think of alternative economic systems and political systems to flip this on its head so that artists won't be threatened by this kind of technology. They will be enriched. And the discussion of the art will be enriched as well. So I think it's very important. That goes back to your question as well, seeking out live music. But I do have one final word to say. When I started this project, Boomy was, in my opinion, a carcinogenic curse in the world. Jacques Attali talks about the reproduction of music becoming carcinogenic because the cost or the amount that anyone's willing to pay goes to zero once you get so much out there. But after working with Boomy and interacting and seeing how people are using it and enjoying it, and actually creating some things that I'm a little proud of with the platform through not just click play, but it's generating some interesting things that I bring into Reaper and then I compose around, I've become a fan of this Boomy system. I don't think their human resource department or their outward-facing support system is very good or communicative, because a lot of people have invested a lot of money in Boomy. There is a subscription plan that's like $300 for the Pro Boomy, $300 per year, $300 US per year, that you get to release 25 albums of 25 songs a month or something crazy like that. You get to save your songs and do all sorts of things. And a lot of the people that have paid for this plan, they had a lot of music on YouTube and Spotify that all of a sudden was taken down, and there's no explanation from Boomy why that is, other than, we're updating the back end of the system. But this has been the explanation for the past 4 months, 5 months. And so there's been in the Boomyverse a sort of diaspora of users to other platforms because they're tired of these non-answers. And they're working with places, things like BandLab and online DAWs that are collaborative and all they're exciting. And there's some buzz around Suno now on the Boomy Discord, that this is a cool alternative to Boomy. So I think it's a great tool. I think it could help people express themselves with music, and I think it can be useful in terms of generating some backing tracks and rhythms and things that you would otherwise have to get through programming a synthesizer or a sample library. But the HR team a support system needs some support themselves. So that's a disclaimer here. Boomy's not all bad, I don't think. Okay, we can continue the discussion later, but thank you very much.
you feel the